fact, I am below the age of 20 and a Metroid fan. That's not very common nowadays. Damn, who would have seen this coming, huh? I think the best way to describe Metroid as a series is that it's Nintendo's most famous, unfamous franchise. Does that make any sense? For over a decade, every Nintendo fan was begging for a new Metroid game in some way, shape, or form. Whether it was a 2D game or, God forbid, a 3D game with a number 4 in it, the demand for the series was truly like no other. And up until 2017, it kinda seemed like Nintendo was content with Samus only showing up in Smash games. However, recently, things have taken quite a twist. As in, there has been more Metroid games released and announced in the last 5 years than Mario games, and I think that means something. And with the recent boom of success with the highly acclaimed Metroid Prime Remaster, I think that Metroid truly has the potential to become one of the big dogs at Nintendo. So this is the glass half full, and stick around till the end to find out why Metroid is about to become one of the biggest Nintendo franchises of all time. So a big question I should probably answer first is, why isn't Metroid already a huge Nintendo franchise? I mean, everyone that knows about it already loves it, so why do we barely see it? And well, it's a weird situation. First off, to really get a scope at the quality of the series, just take a look at the reviews. Out of every Metroid game, the lowest score was a 78. And that was for a Metroid fucking pinball. So you know damn well that that was a good ass pinball game. But aside from that, 88, 90, 92, and as far as 97, you can tell that this series is nothing short of special. And that was further proved by fans in how they, for a lack of a better term, got on their hands and knees and begged for Prime 4. People pleaded for that game to come out. Like, think of Prime 4 being the Half-Life 3 for Nintendo fans. And you would think with all this demand that Metroid was some kind of legendary IP that was a secret juggernaut to push millions of consoles out, but in actuality, the entirety of the series is outsold by Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Yes, the same game that released less than 100 days ago. Anyway, it seemed like this highly acclaimed series is actually a lot less known for some reason, and I think that devolves into two main reasons. And the first being at how non-consistent it was. Back when it first released in 1986, the series would only see 2 more releases until the 2000s hit. This doesn't hurt the series too much, but the weird droughts between each game were never there for Mario and Kirby, and the lack of spin-offs may pay tribute to that as well. And then out of fucking nowhere, 2002, Metroid Prime Infusion. 2004, Prime 2 and Zero Mission. And then look at that, Pinball, Hunters, Corruption, 3 years in a row, and then rounding off with Prime Trilogy and Other M not long after. I don't know who was the executive at Nintendo who thought just overloading the 2000s with Metroid was a good idea, but this much releases and not a lot of sales was definitely a factor with Nintendo eventually cutting ties with the series for a bit. And it's hard to say if this is Nintendo's fault or it's just the GameCube and Wii not being the best systems for these games to be on, but it kinda relates to my second point being, Metroid doesn't really feel like a Nintendo series. At all. Sounds weird, but look at this. Look at usual Nintendo games and their box art. Say what you want about the layout or whatever, but in common, all of these guys have a wholesome face on the cover and make someone who's casually looking through the Nintendo aisle at GameStop catch their eye at how welcoming that face is. Like Mario, look how swell that guy is. I want to see what he does in this adventure. Or Splatoon, wow, these weird squid kids seem like they're having so much fun. I want to join them. And then you look at Samus, and it's just terrifying. That robot just staring into your soul, knowing it's seen some awful, gruesome shit, and it wants you to see it too. You just don't feel safe around that thing. Zero Suit Samus, on the other hand, well, I would feel pretty safe around her, but since the games mostly take place in her suit, you can't really market with that. And even though you and I know how amazing these games are, the casual Wii gamer isn't really gonna give a shit about Metroid Prime 3 Corruption and would be eyeing up Cold Stone Creamery scoop it up. And I feel like at this point, Nintendo fans kinda had enough with disappointing sales of Metroid and decided to take a break for a bit. But since hardcore fans still wanted more, they decided to take their chances and make another one. And remember when I said there was a lack of spin-offs for the series? Well, it should have stayed like that. Because when Nintendo saw all these people wanting more Metroid, they gave us that. In the worst way possible. You are the worst thing ever. Why the fuck do you exist? Now, it's not so much that the game was absolutely horrible. I think I never actually played it myself, honestly. But it was so obvious that this was not what fans have been asking for so long, and they just didn't know that. So when it came out and sold like 10 fucking copies, it was inadvertently telling the creators, damn, I guess no one likes Metroid anymore. And we proceed to hear nothing about the series for the next couple of years. And it was apparent that Nintendo wanted to permanently keep Samus as one of those, hey, it's that one guy from Smash characters. A real tragedy for one of the most critical video game series that Nintendo seemingly didn't really care about. And it kind of just seemed like Metroid was going to fall among the other Nintendo greats, like the Earthbound or F-Zero series, until a certain direct back in 2017. When all hope seemed lost, Nintendo finally gave us what we want. Metroid Prime 4 confirmed for the Switch. It may not seem like it at first, but ever since that game was announced, Nintendo was doing their damn hardest to make sure that Metroid will become a huge series. Well, how am I so confident that this time it'll change? For a series that has never sold that well in the past, what can Nintendo possibly change? Well, actually, they've already done a lot already. For starters, let's go back to that Metroid Prime 4 trailer. It was first announced in June 2017, which was fairly close to the actual launch of the Switch. So the fact that Nintendo wants to confirm early on that Prime 4 is coming already says a lot about how much they know fans want it. Or they wanted them to shut up, I don't know, either way it works. And that trailer as well. It's barely even a trailer or a teaser, like there's no gameplay or fucking Samus for that matter. All that happens is a bunch of blue space stuff, then the number 4. That is all. And it was still able to get over 3.9 million views on YouTube, which is pretty crazy for a single number. With the views that video got and the hype in the Nintendo community, it was obvious that Metroid hype was at an all-time high, and to capitalize on it, Nintendo also announced a remake for Metroid Samus Returns. I see what we did there. So even though we're not getting any new info on Prime 4 anytime soon, at least we could keep ourselves occupied with this one. The only problem that could come from this is that it released on a somewhat dying console. And that did end up affecting the sales, but it sold more than other 3DS games at the time, so I think it's a win. So good job, Mercury Steam. I hope your efforts will continue to pay off later on. And obviously, with all the hype surrounding Metroid, it's only logical that we don't hear anything until 2019. And even then, it was Nintendo telling us that they're starting production all over again. You know, not the best update we could have got. Okay, in all honesty, I first saw this as a bad and a good thing. It's obviously a bad thing since it's going to take even longer for Prime 4 to come out, but it's a good thing since Nintendo really wants this to become a good product. Because if you didn't already know, Bandai Namco was originally developing Prime 4 until Retro Studios, the original creators of Metroid Prime, took back the series so they can make it the best they can. Which tells me two things. First, whatever Namco had done at the time, Nintendo looked at it and said, wow, this is fucking dog shit. What is wrong with you? And second, it shows that Nintendo really cares about this series as well. For a series of this caliber and this much hype around it, it really wouldn't be that fun if the game was just mediocre compared to the other three and Nintendo just said, we gave you exactly what you wanted. How is this our fault? We definitely don't want another Star Fox Zero situation. God, please, no, please, let's not do that again. It is kind of a shame, though, that we wouldn't have a new Metroid game for a while now. Oh shit! Oh fuck! Oh, look at that! Metroid 5! What? Oh, okay. Yeah, so apparently Nintendo liked what Mercury's team did with Samus Returns so much that they just gave them the okay to make a brand new Metroid themselves with Dread. And man, they really let them go crazy with it. It is still one of the most visually stunning games on the platform, and also one of the best, mind you. And to truly prove how much faith Nintendo had with the series, they really released Dread alongside the OLED. Game ended up selling 3 million copies, which is a series record and pretty good for a Metroidvania as well. Do I wish it sold a little bit more? Yes, especially with the huge marketing push. It was my first Metroid game and I absolutely love it, but it's still a good accomplishment nonetheless. And now we arrive in 2023, and for the longest time we thought a remaster of Prime Trilogy was next to, you know, to hype us up for Prime 4, which would have been really cool, but instead Nintendo does something different in the coolest way possible, because as we all know, a remaster of the first Metroid Prime was just recently announced and sold at basically the exact same time. And like, it looks way better than anyone else anticipated. And a lot of people did want that trilogy to be released again, but now we only got the first one, which aw, kinda sucks, man. But now it's fully remade and the best looking game by far on the Switch, and only for $40, which I personally think is a pretty good trade-off. And it is here that Nintendo finally has the attention for every Switch player out there, because releasing a Metroid Prime Remaster now is possibly one of the best ways to ensure that this series is going to be bigger than ever before. Now, why exactly do I think that releasing all 3 Metroid games separately is better than all together? And well, it's obviously because Nintendo gets more money. Well, obviously, it's to slowly build up and get ready for the announcement and release of Metroid Prime 4. Yes, we could have got a remastered trilogy and would have been great. All games can be experienced by those who haven't played it and wouldn't have to resort to the thing that shouldn't be named, but it would only work for so long. For example, if the Metroid Prime trilogy did release after the Direct, we would have all played it and loved it, but then we would have to wait a good year and a half for Prime 4 to come out, which wouldn't be the worst thing ever, but it would definitely reduce the hype a little by the time the next installment does release. But instead, what Nintendo is doing is actually pretty unique, because instead of getting everything out of the gate, we slowly build up to the climax. Let me demonstrate for y'all. Metroid Prime 1, remaked and released early 2023. People who've never played it before finally get their chance to play it, and returning fans get to experience it again in glorious HD. Then after finishing it, we obviously want to see Prime 2 get a remake, and that's exactly what we're gonna get midway through 2023. Same process happens again, and bam! Late 2023, we get a remake of Prime 3, just in time for Metroid Prime 4 announced in early 2024. This way, every fan, new and old, would have gotten well used to the franchise through their steady releases all through 2023, building maximum hype to pick up where the story left off, and we wouldn't have to wait an excruciating long time for it. I mean, we already did that, but that's beside the point. And by the time Prime 4 launches, we're gonna have a heavy stream of old and new fans alike, making the series bigger than ever before and getting Metroid the proper recognition it deserves. At least that's what I hope happens. I don't know. Listen, of course I know that Metroid would never be able to beat the likes of Mario and Pokemon, and even something a little less popular like Splatoon, but well, actually, maybe it'll be on the same par as Kirby, but at least we don't have to suffer through the massive droughts of before. And who knows? Maybe after all this hype, we could get a movie? Please? That would be pretty cool. The future's looking bright for our space bounty hunter, especially with how well the remake looks. Like, goddamn, that shit is beautiful. And if you haven't played it yet for whatever reason, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you watching this video? Go play it, dumbass!